If I had a problem, I'd be starving. I'd be hawking this watch. I do not have a problem. I enjoy gambling.
Got this, Jameis. And I said, are you strong? They said, I'm strong if you strong. And I said, we strong then.
Intersection for the TEXANS. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh.
I want to have a wide variety of sauces and shit.
You son of a bitch. You better clean them TEXANS up right now.
I am never cleaning up your TEXANS again.
Yeah, well, not quite. Yeah, let's stick to football.
We are back, baby! Am I live? Welcome to the show. Hey, I'm pumped. You guys are doing a hell of a job here at the Round Robin Pod.
Okay, we recorded a 40-minute pod today, and something got messed up with the video. So there will be an audio pod of Jamie and I talking about all 5 of our Circa Millions Week 2 picks. But I'm going to do a quick video so that we have some video beforehand, and then just after this you'll get about 30 minutes of J-Mac and I talking about the Chiefs minus 5.5, the Texans minus 6.5, the Lions minus 7, the Colts minus 2.5, and the Patriots plus 3.5. Those are our 5 picks. And then Jamie also lays out some of his thesis on why the new kickoff rules really, really favor the over and the favorites until the market corrects. So my favorite bet of the week is the Chiefs minus 5.5. I was really high on the Chiefs coming into the season. I think this team is so much better than last year, and the inherent Mahomes and Chiefs tax is not enough, in my opinion, for how much better they are. They didn't even play that good last week. Like, they had some drops, and I thought they could have blown the Ravens out, and I think the Ravens are really, really good. They're much better than the Bengals. So there's some historical data that says don't bet the Chiefs in this spot, that Mahomes struggles as more than a 3-point favorite, and that he is 11-11 against the spread in the second week of a homestand when they won the first week. But in those same games where he's 11-11 against the spread, he's 16-6 straight up. So to me, that means he's winning these games even though there is a Chiefs and Mahomes tax. So if you're laying big numbers with him, he's still going to go win the game because he's that good, but he's not covering the spreads necessarily. But my opinion is the Bengals were not downgraded enough after watching. Like, dude, this Bengals team has a weird stink on them. Jamar Chase is there's more bad headlines today. Burrow didn't look healthy. He didn't throw the ball down the field at all. They aren't good in the first few weeks of the season, his whole career. So I don't know what's going on with them, but I don't want to back them at all. So I think the Chiefs tax should be more, I guess, is my point. I think this line should be 7. It's gone to 6 now, but we have Chiefs minus 5.5. I'm still going to bet it at Chiefs minus 6. I think that this Chiefs team is really, really, really good, and I think they're going to win this game. Really, I think 7 or 8 out of 10 times this game is over at halftime. It's like 20-6 or 21-3, and the Chiefs are going to run the ball the whole second half and cover that 5.5 easy. Second favorite bet of the week is the Lions minus 7. Jared Goff is 24-9 against the spread indoors. So since he became a Detroit Lion, he is unbelievable as a big favorite, and he covers spreads at home. So I said to Jamie that Jared Goff is like the schoolyard bully. You put him on the playground with a bunch of third graders and he just kicks their ass. Like, he's a 7-point favorite. He's going to cover and he's going to dominate when the O-line is good, when his coaching is good, and he's in a dome and he's playing an inferior team. He just bullies everybody. When you put him in Philly in the winter or in Foxborough or against Belichick, against whatever. Like when you take the bully and you put him with the older kids or whatever, he gets punked. But in this spot, as a 7-point favorite, the line's already gone to 7.5. I really like the Lions laying 7. The Patriots are at home getting 3.5 from Seattle, who looked like they had a ton of O-line problems against Denver, and the Patriots have an awesome defense and an awesome D-line. And then I also think that the Seahawks' new coach is going to scheme up a really good defensive team, and they're going to play a lot of low-scoring games where their defense is really well schemed. So getting 3.5 at home in a really low-scoring game, I really like this one too. Maybe 13-10 or 16-13. I think the Patriots might win this one on the field. The Texans are laying 6.5 to the Bears. This is a pure Bears fade. And I said coming into the season that if the Bears kept winning games, I was going to want to fade them more. I think they stink. I think Eberflus is terrible. I don't like anything about the Bears, and they had one of the flukiest wins and covers in the history of the league last week. So I wanted to play the Titans this week because the Titans owe me a win and a cover, but the Bears owe me one just as much. So give me the Texans minus 6.5. They might have the best offense in the league. No, our last game is Colts minus 2.5. It's just a pure Malik Willis fade. This is not my favorite bet of the week, but if the Colts go up 14-0, I don't know what the Packers are going to do to get back in this game. Like it'll be over with. And if the Packers somehow go up 14-0, at least Richardson, we saw he can be Hercules and make these plays and get back in the game. So give me the Colts minus 2.5 in Green Bay. Circa Millions week 2. Chiefs minus 5.5 have the Bengals at home. They have so much motivation. They hate the Bengals. The Bengals owner called Arrowhead Burrowhead Stadium. So there's no letdown coming off of last week. Chiefs cover 5.5. Easy. Lions minus 7 in Detroit. Jared Goff is a bully when he's the team that's supposed to win and he's got everything going his way. Lions cover 7, beat the crap out of the Buccaneers. Colts minus 2.5 is a pure Malik Willis fade. If the Packers get down early, they have no chance of scoring any points. Colts minus 2.5 in Green Bay. Patriots plus 3.5 at home, getting points from the Seahawks. Give me the Patriots plus 3.5 in a low-scoring game. Texans at home, pure Bears fade. We hate the Bears. The Bears owe me a cover. They covered the freakiest game ever last week. Give me the Texans minus 6.5 at home on Sunday Night Football. Bang, bang, bang. Okay. Stick around and listen to me and Jamie talk about these 5 games and the kickoff rule. Okay, bye-bye. All right, let's just jam through a bunch of these games. Here's what I wanted to throw at you that I think is interesting. So Mahomes on the second leg of a 2-week homestand in his career is 11-11 against the spread and 16-6 straight up, which is a crazy number to be like how winning that many games and still like winning. How is he winning that many games and still not covering?
That he is very good covering, winning and covering everything a field goal and less.
Yeah.
And he doesn't cover nearly as often as he's been a huge favorite a lot of his career. Right. So a lot of those games, they're just winning close football games against teams they should probably blow out.
Well, so what it means to me though is that he's basically the market is overvaluing the Chiefs in a lot of those games because it's the Mahomes tax, it's the Chiefs tax. If you want to bet the Chiefs, you got to lay more points than you actually probably should. And then he's just still getting the ball late in those games and doing whatever it takes to actually win the game. And then they're not covering the spreads because the spreads are a little juiced up. But this week, I think that there's some unknown factors about the Bengals that, like Mahomes' wrist, Burrow's wrist might be fucked. Burrow might be hurt. Their defense might be terrible. There's some things about the Bengals that we don't know 100% yet that I wouldn't want to ever play the Bengals in this spot. And then I know I told you about this on the phone, but Belichick said on one of his shows that the preparing for a week one opening game like they had against the Ravens has a residual effect in preparation for like the first 2 or 3 weeks. There's like a positive hangover of like being that focused. And then I think there's actually a double investment from the Chiefs because you have the Bengals who they hate. Like the owner of the Bengals called Arrowhead Stadium Burrowhead Stadium. I think the Chiefs hate the Bengals. And I think that there's no question in motivation. I think this line should actually be 7, and that Chiefs minus 5.5 is just a really, 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 and for me, like, I mean, you know me really well. Like, I'm really not stoked to be laying points ever, but I just think that I think that the Chiefs tax hasn't hit yet for how good that they are this year. So even if there's a little residual Chiefs tax and Mahomes tax for the last couple years, the fact that they win the game a lot. So let's say there's like a point of tax on the game there. I still think that they're a point under what it should be because the market still hasn't adjusted to account for how good the Chiefs are going to be this year.
Yeah, I agree. I think we're both super high on the Chiefs.
Yeah.
They were your favorite team coming into the year, like, as far as even being like an undervalued team still. Like,
Right.
everyone likes the Chiefs, but you were like, no, this team is like way better than last year.
World beater, yeah.
Right. And yeah, we watching the Bengals week one, it just looked like there was something really wrong. I couldn't really tell what it was. I don't know how hurt Burrow is. He was definitely flexing his wrist a bunch. Jamar Chase is acting all weird, saying weird things to the media. I'm sure there's something going on that we don't know about.
There's a very stinky vibe on the Bengals that I'm happy to fade blind. Like, just like whatever there is they have going on, like I'm not interested in participating and like backing them in any capacity.
Right.
Especially against a very motivated Chiefs team.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm also with you. We definitely like the Chiefs. I saw early in the week a lot of the bets were coming in on the Bengals, and so I was a little more hesitant. It got bet down to 4.5, and then it just got slammed all the way to 6. And to me, that's a really clear sign that somebody loves the Chiefs and put a lot of money at that on the Chiefs minus 4.5, because it happened real fast. So 5.5 in the contest. I think we have to probably take this one.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I'm gonna try and get some. I'm gonna try and bet the Chiefs too. I like them. Okay, great. So Texans minus 6.5. Go.
I just think, okay, so I have been pondering what is really going to be the effect of this new kickoff. And so far, I think it really is favoring. So basically what's happening is most teams are just kicking it through the end zone and giving their opponent the ball on the 30-yard line.
Right.
And I think it's going to lead to the better teams scoring more points. The best teams are going to score more touchdowns, while the worst teams who have more trouble moving the ball, they don't have to go nearly as far. I mean, assuming these kickoffs are from, if you get the ball from the 30 at the minimum, because that seems to be about where everyone's starting from. I think the average field position was the 29-yard line. Several kicks did get returns got brought out to the 40. One got ran back for a touchdown. I think as the season goes on, we're going to see everyone kind of kick it through the end zone and start on the 30. I think it's a huge advantage for the kickoff team. So just that little bit of extra yardage makes it a little bit easier for the bad offenses to get into field goal range. I think these bad offenses are going to kick more field goals rather than punt and pin their opponents back. Like about a team that doesn't necessarily have a good offense, take like the Steelers or the Raiders. Those are the type of teams that I think are going to end up kicking more field goals when normally they'd be playing a field position game and trying to pin their opponents deep. And I think them kicking a field goal, the bad teams ending up with a field goal instead of punting, is going to lead to another kickoff, which gives the better offensive team better field position, and they're going to be pinned back less often, which is going to lead them to score more touchdowns and also just be more possessions in the game. So this is a very early thesis. We've seen 1 week of football, but I think as the season goes on, we're going to see more and more overs hit. There's going to be more possessions, more touchdowns, more field goals. But ultimately, I think teams like the Texans, who I think have a top 5 offense, they're going to score so many more points. Maybe not so many more, but they're going to score more points. And that is just so correlated to them covering a little bit of a bigger spread. I think anything under 7 with these teams, sticking with the Texans, I think they're going to be able to score touchdowns. I think they're going to get more possessions in this game than they might otherwise. And I think what we saw from the Bears on the other side was just so abysmal. I don't know. Until we kind of came into the season really wanting to fade the Bears just kind of blindly. We were kind of falling in love with Caleb Williams. We really liked watching Hard Knocks. It's very entertaining. But we also were like, okay, we've seen this happen every year with Hard Knocks. Everyone's in love with the Bears. And we were just all in on kind of fading them blindly. Last week was very apparent that we were right to fade the Bears and that Hard Knocks.
What we literally said was, we're falling in love with Caleb Williams and the Bears through Hard Knocks in a way that makes it so obvious that like Johnny Public and like the normal football fan is going to be so obsessed with the Bears that there's going to be inherent value just betting against the Bears blindly. And then every week that they win a game makes it even more likely that they're overvalued in the next game. And they literally won a game in the most historic, like absurd fact. Like they sucked. They're basically, you could say they were the 3rd worst team in 25 years to come back from down 3 scores and win a game. They're literally like one of the worst teams to win a game and cover 4 in like the history.
Certainly one of the worst offensive performances.
Yeah.
And I think the only reason, like we saw the Colts, first of all, the Texans were able to score 32 points, 30. I forget what I think they put up 32 against the Colts.
Was it 32 to 30 or 33 to 31? Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
That was on the road against the Colts defense that I think is much better than the Bears defense, especially the Bears defense on the road. I think the Texans are going to score 30 points plus, and I just don't see how the Bears are going to move the ball. So Texans are my lock and I'm going to be betting some of the bigger favorites against more lackluster offenses to start the season under this thesis. I think other than the Bengals, every other favorite ended up big favorite, like of over a field goal that won, they covered. So like,
yeah, I mean, I think in theory, it's pretty interesting because if the average start, let's just use the round numbers of last year, the touchback landed on the 25. This year, the touchback lands on the 30. So, and then with how good the guys are at kicking now, everything from 52 and in is basically a like kind of automatic, like it's just or a high percentage field goal. So that's from the 30 to the 35 rather than from the 25 to the 35. So that's 5. I mean, dude, it's like a 7% increase in less yardage you have to cover before you're scoring points, as opposed to, like you said, having a chance to pin the other team inside of the 10-yard line, which then causes a 90-yard drive versus another 35-yard drive for points, whatever. I have a stat for the. Go ahead though, if you have more on that. Go ahead.
No, that was it. That was it. I just think my thesis after watching this first week is that there's going to be more points scored. I think teams um, will continue to kick through the end zone, and the ones that don't kick it through the end zone are actually probably making a mistake. I think
Yeah.
because I think it's a big advantage. This like just one line of defenders that you have to break through to score a touchdown. Because what I noticed was all the smartest coaches, all the best coaches were the ones kicking it through the end zone. They kind of are the
Yeah.
ones that I trust the most to think they've done something analytically where they realize we're not going to kick it off and let a team run it back for a touchdown. So we're just going to kick it to the end zone. And
Yeah, it'll be interesting to keep an eye on that this week. I didn't go back and look at every game and watch every kickoff to see if all the good coaches kicked it out and all the bad coaches didn't kick, like if there was a correlation there. I'm sure there probably was a slight correlation there. I am inclined to think that this has already been built into the betting market in the totals regard, but I'm interested in your theory that it's not built in yet, and that they need to like if a team's favored by 6.5, they're going to start making them 7.5, and we're a week or two early on getting these good teams at less than a touchdown. I have another cool one for the Texans too. So there's a stat, like a trend for a betting trend for new everything groups, which is if you have all three of these: new head coach, new coordinator, new quarterback. So the teams that fit that were 4-11 against the spread in week ones. And last week they went 1-2. The teams that actually fit that exactly this year are the Falcons, Redskins, and Seahawks, I believe. Those are the only ones that actually like completely fit that mold. I would like to include, I'll come back. I would like to include a couple of more teams just because I think it's a little more nuanced than that. But I'm including the Bears in it, even though, I mean, they have new quarterback and new coordinator. They have the same coach, and they technically covered. But I like when you only cover 3 out of 300 times. I don't even know if you yeah, they covered. So I think they just a bunch of really interesting betting trends make me want to fade the Bears. Like the ones that say that they covered, so now they're in week two after a cover and a win. The ones that say that if they didn't cover it and they're in week two after a lot, like I like kind of I think they all kind of apply because motivationally they're coming off of a win. Uh, and then, but statistically and numerically, they're kind of almost not. So I really like betting the Bears. So the teams that fit that description, if you lost week one against the spread with those new everythings, it doesn't get better in week two. You're now you go 2-8-1 against the spread in week two. So think the Falcons, think the Redskins. I personally would like to include the Raiders, the Bear, like some of these teams that I think stink and have new coaches, coordinators, quarterbacks. Even if they don't all technically apply. It's one of the things, like as I'm digging into all these betting trends more and more, I think it's kind of interesting, like I think it'll be interesting to keep an eye on if my instincts to kind of tinker with how they apply to who are more about justifying my own preconceptions about what each team is going to do, or if it's more, or if I'm sharp about like actually applying them kind of with a little more nuance, depending
well,
on.
you'd probably have to go back and look at some other teams that were really close to applying because they're not taking into account any of the data from all of the other teams that were very close but didn't apply exactly that way.
Yeah, yeah, good point.
So I don't know if you can just count them in there because there's probably so many more teams that were really close to fitting that category, but just
Yeah,
didn't quite.
that's a good point. Um, our next like most valuable pick, in my opinion, is, well, these two are kind of a toss up. like the Lions a lot, especially in the contest. The line now 7.5, so I still would probably bet that if I was like gonna bet if I needed to give a play out, like or like somebody was like, I want to bet this game, what side? I'd still lay the 7.5 and take the Lions. Um, the the one that the number that I like a lot about the coming off of those big giant wins. Is that okay? So the Saints and the Buccaneers closed as 3.5 point or more favorites coming into last week. So the Bucks closed as a 4 point favorite versus the Commanders, and now they're a 7 point dog to the Lions. That's very rare, but the stats are kind of overwhelming. They're just those teams get blown out. They lose by 17 points a game. But it's only happened 4 times because it's pretty rare. But if you were a 4 point dog and covered, or a 4 point favorite and covered, and then now you're a 7 point dog in week 2, the history says you just get blown out. So I also think the Commanders' defense is bad. I think the Commanders are bad. I think that the Lions are really good, and they're really good at home, and Goff is really good at home, and Goff is really good against the spread at home, and we're getting 7, and now it's 7.5. So I really like the Lions here.
Yep, I'm on it with you too. Dan Campbell's really good against the spread. One thing we did the season preview, and I picked the Bucks to win their division, but the one thing I talked about is how I thought they would look really good at home, and Baker would play really good at home, and they would beat a couple bad teams on the road, but in general on the road they were going to get blown out in some games against some good teams. And I think this is just one of those spots where the Lions are just a much, much better team. They play so good at home. They have such a good pass rush. They have a really good offensive line, which can kind of mute the Bucks pass rush. And I mean, when Goff is just has plenty of time in the pocket, he's perfectly capable of being a top 10 quarterback. And I just love this spot. I really like this spot for the Lions.
Yeah, I think of Jared Goff if for the gambling markets like a bully. Like he's like a big bully. Like if you put him on the playground with a bunch of little like fourth graders, and like he'll just run around and just beat the crap out of everybody. And then if you move him to like, the juvenile detention center where like the real tough kids hang out, he just gets his ass kicked. So like as a favorite in Detroit or in a dome, like he's just really good. His whole career, he's been really good. When everything's going well for him, he balls out, and that's just like I'm not gonna fade. I think that's who he is.
Yeah,
he's a front runner. When things are good, he's hell of good, and when things are bad, like and you need him to get you out, like it's not happening.
Yep.
I also think they could come back. Like if the Bucks get a pick 6 and then a stop and a touchdown and they're up 14-0, I still think I still think they could come back and cover 7. They score hell of easy.
Yeah, I'd be interested actually to see how Goff does in that sort of situation. Probably not great would be my instinct.
I bet much better in Detroit or
maybe
in a dome. Yeah.
I mean,
but yeah,
I actually don't know how many times he's been down 14, like with the Lions at home. But
yeah.
I mean, ideally, obviously, we're going to want to get the lead and then just let the Lions do what they did in the fourth quarter and overtime against the Rams, where they just completely bullied the defensive line with that offensive line, tire them out, run the ball. Like the Rams had no shot of stopping. They just ran. It was just towards the end of that's the other thing too. Like that's how you want to run the clock out in the fourth quarter. So if they're ahead in the fourth quarter, even if it's by a field goal, they can still just run and just score another touchdown. Like any play can break for a touchdown, and you're still
great point. It's also a good point that hopefully they figured something out in overtime too, and they don't come into this game being like, let's throw the ball a bunch. Like, hey guys, we just watched you just run it down the Rams' throat after you played around and almost lost to them. Maybe just run the ball the whole game and just dominate the line of scrimmage and don't even like throw it. Like I don't even like I think they could just run the ball for 5 yards of play. Their O-line's incredible.
Yeah.
Their D-line's awesome too. Like I know Baker looked good and you liked how he looked in week 1, but like if you're comparing the Lions at home to the Redskins or the Commanders, whatever, on the road, that's like you couldn't have any more different defenses.
Also, just that Lions game. We watched Stafford just absolutely ball out. Like he was making throws that Baker's just not capable of making, I don't think. And the Lions still won that game. That was one of the best quarterback performances I've seen from Stafford in a really, really long time. And they still just ended up winning the game. And I don't know, that win was actually really impressive to me, even though they shouldn't have covered the spread. I don't know, something about this Rams team. I mean, this Lions team just feels kind of like they have a special team. Like they're going to win a lot of close games. They're never going to feel like they're out of it. I don't know. I'm kind of becoming more and more bullish on the Lions.
Well, the last thing we recorded before the season started, you told me how much you like the Lions, and I actually like kind of came around after picking the Packers to win that division. I kind of felt dumb like right before week 1, and I think you're right. I think you're right though. Like being like the Rams own them too. Like I'm really firm on this, that the Rams overperform in Detroit, that McVay owns Goff. He's really, really a good coach. He had an extra few weeks to prepare. So for them to look like kind of confused and like lost against the Rams and then still win by 6 in overtime and like in a very dominating way, like, yeah, they're going to just beat the crap out of a lot of teams. Like I really like that the average margin of victory in these historical spots is 17, because I like the Rams to win or I like the Lions to win this game by 21.
We should find some alternate line bets, and this could be one of those games where it's worth taking a blowout.
-29.5 or -26.5 or something like that.
Yeah, or -17 and that's still going to be a fat number.
Yeah. All right, so let's just do the last two here, and then because we have a lot of stuff on the other games in that one that we did with Emery earlier in the week. So we have the Patriots plus 3.5 in the Circa contest, and the line is now 3. What do you have for the Patriots?
I really liked watching the healthy. I love actually watching this Patriots defense when they're healthy.
Yeah.
They were so much fun for us to watch last year and bet on last year. And we just fell victim to Mac Jones. But it's just something about like the talent that they have and kind of the speed they play with. I really like the Patriots defense. I think at home, season opener at home, I just think they're going to perform at a really high level. The main thing is if the offense can just protect the ball. And I think Jacoby Brissett he's an upgrade from Mac Jones. He protects the ball a little better. And they're just going to run it. They're going to run the ball and play good defense. And Seattle, I think their defense, this is going to be a defensive game. I think it's going to be a very low scoring game. I've already bet the under on this game. I know Geno has played really well the last 2 years, but he's still a guy who, especially on the road, facing a really good defense, is someone I do not trust. I do not want to bet on Geno Smith. I do not want to bet on the Seahawks going east, where they historically just don't perform nearly as well. And I just like a lot about the Patriots team. I think they're going to win. I think they're going to win this game outright at home. But getting 3, that extra half a point was kind of what was our 4th pick of the contest. That extra half point is really valuable. The current line is 3. We're getting 3.5. And yeah, I think Patriots are the right side in this game.
I still like it at 3. So in the last 10 years, here's a trend that favors Patriots. In the last 10 years, when 2 undefeated teams play in week 2, the home team has gone 25-12 against the spread. They're getting 3 at home. Coming into the season, the reasons why I liked Seattle is McDonald has we'll see if this is true. He just got there, but McDonald has the like same kind of reputation for defensive schemes that McVay and Shanahan have for offensive schemes. So we think Seattle's defense is top 5 or going to be eventually. He's a top 2 or 3 defensive coach. And then we think the Patriots defense is really good. So I think the game's just going to be really low scoring and 3 points is really good. I also think the things that Seattle does well on offense will be mitigated by the Patriots. Geno Smith throws the ball down the field really well, and the Patriots have excellent secondary, and they'll have a really good scheme. And like you said, there's just they suck going east. I'm also like you said, like I really like betting the Patriots. Like if they're going to be going on the road and just like dominating the Bengals, then it's good enough. You're getting 3 at home. I don't know why. So I think it'll be really low scoring and those 3 points are good. Our last one is the Colts, right?
Yeah, we landed on the Colts.
Okay, and this is almost just a straight Malik Willis fade, right?
I mean,
oh no, you like the Colts too.
I like the Colts as a team. I like Shane Steichen.
Yeah.
This is a game that I know a lot of the sharps are on the Packers, and
is that true? Probably at 3, probably when the number was 3, or it hasn't moved. I mean, so it opened 2.5 and it went to 3, and now it's still at 3. So I don't know how it can't be that it can't be that many.
I believe it's 2.5.
Oh, it's back to 2.5.
Yeah, contest. We have 2.5, right? Colts minus.
Yeah, we have 2.5 for sure. But I saw it at 3,
Yeah.
like pretty quickly after that.
Malik Willis. We're kind of just banking on him being as bad as he's been in every other game he's played. He to me is probably he's definitely one of the bottom backup quarterbacks in the NFL.
Yeah. He might be like in the 60s range of like best quarterbacks in the league. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's kind of just the Colts are going to stack the box, not let Jacobs run wild, make Malik Willis beat them. And hopefully the Colts will score some touchdowns instead of kick a lot of field goals.
Yeah. I like your consistency with the Steichen and the Colts handicap. Like you're low on the Eagles the last 2 years, basically since Steichen left. And so I think those 2 things seem to be correlated. He does seem really good. I think that if you extrapolate the stuff from the Texans Colts game, I'm not sure that the Colts I'm not sure it's repeatable the way that they scored, but maybe Richardson really is just like Jamarcus Russell and Cam Newton put together, and we'll see, maybe he is that he's just going to make insane, never seen before plays like every week. It's definitely, I'm not saying it's impossible. I thought when this game came up, I thought I was going to love Green Bay because I like LaFleur, and I think getting 2.5 at home. But I didn't. Malik Willis was traded to the Packers after the preseason was over. Like it's not. He doesn't even like know the play. Like he's not even like I don't know how. I think the only way we lose this bet is a backdoor. Like they're down 8 late and score, and then try and go for 2 like tie it over. Like I don't think there's any way that the Colts lose this game.
Yeah, this is another one that I think we're talking about betting the alternate line for the
like game? minus the Lions game.
Yeah, the Lions game. Sorry, I blanked. This is one where I feel like if the Colts,
I like an alternate line in the Chiefs. I think just to stay on that I for 1 second.
Bet all of these alternate lines.
Yeah, like if you're right, which I think it's more than 50%, that until they adjust like the market, laying the points, like they haven't adjusted yet to the fact that these teams might just be blowing teams out. Like we saw, I mean, the Bills blew the Dolphins out on the road.
Niners blew the Jets out.
Yeah.
Like these primetime games have been just like tons and tons of points. Yeah. Everyone has been way over. Like the Dolphins game was a way over until Tua got hurt. But it's mostly just when it's not just the primetime games. It's like the teams that have like the primetime games in week 1 and in the Jets and the Bills and Dolphins games, they're putting really watchable games this year.
Yeah.
It's like really good teams is what it is on the primetime games. And they're just scoring tons and tons of points. So they're both starting with less yards to go to score a touchdown. And so we're seeing a ton more points between from the best offenses. So yeah, sticking to this game though, I think if the Colts go up even like 10 points, we might just be like, oh, this game's over. Like if he's as bad as Skylar Thompson was when he came in to fill in for Tua, like there was no way the Dolphins were going to score a touchdown. And so if Malik Willis, it just might be very apparent early on in that game that there's just no way if they go down a touchdown or two that the Packers are going to be able to come back from this game.
Yeah.